Hi everyone, welcome to the session. Just waiting for people to join and then I'll make a start. My name is Abdul. I'll do introductions shortly. Just bear with me. Welcome to the session on understanding Showbie. I'll make sure that chat is open and people can ask questions there as well. So feel free to ask questions. I'll make sure that I come back to this and answer questions towards the end as well. I also share my details as well. So if there are questions that you kind of want to ask after the session is over, then there will also be the opportunity to do that as well. So just bear with me. There's still people joining in at the moment, and then I'll make a start shortly. Hey, Anders. Good to have you here. Hope all is well in Sweden. I'm sure we'll have a mixture of educators that are using Showbie already. Maybe many of you are kind of new and don't know anything about Showbie at all. So I'm going to kind of start from scratch and give everyone a bit of an overview as to the possibilities with Showbie, what it does, what it doesn't do, and obviously happy to take questions as well. If you set up a quiz in a class and it ends, can you put another quiz on that same wall? Yeah, once the quiz has ended, yes, you can do that, absolutely. Okay, wonderful, Joe. North Yorkshire, not too far away from me. I'm based in UK as well. We've got some international people here as well, but I'm based in Bolton, just outside Manchester. So no problem, Joe, we'll do that. I'll try and make sure that we kind of cover ground. Aha, good to have you on board as well, Susie. Okay. Don't worry about, Caroline, don't worry about seeing anyone. It's all good. I'm going to be sharing my screen in a moment, and then you should be able to kind of, we'll take it from there. Hi, Amanda from Worcester. Good to have you on board as well. I will, if you've already subscribed to Showbie and you've got it in your school, or you're kind of very new to this as well, and you kind of want to do from this, you want to go away and do something very bespoke for your school, for your senior leaders, for your digital leaders, for heads of departments, or generally just as an introduction for your school, then absolutely you can get back to me as well, and I'll be more than happy to kind of do that specifically for your school as well. Ibrox Primary, welcome guys, welcome. Hope this is useful. Mesfin, I'll try and cover deleting students. I'll make sure I try and remember that. If not, then ask me and I'm more than happy to kind of share that. Is the dialogue box strictly for the assignment, or is it where teacher chats with the pupils about the assignment? We'll cover that. It can be both. You can speak to students individually and have a kind of learning conversation if you want, but then you can also give instructions there as well. But we'll cover that as well. Brilliant, Gail. Good place to start, I'll tell you that. Hopefully from this you'll walk away and you'll probably see a lot of potential. And one thing I will say to people is don't feel that you have to remember everything that I'm gonna kind of okay, that's a good point, Diane. I'll have a look at that if we can. I think a red line pops up. I'm not sure, but we'll test that out. This whole session will be recorded. So if, for example, at the end of this, you feel you want to share this recording with your teachers or anybody else in your kind of professional network, then absolutely reach out to me. I will have my email. I will share my email. And once it all kind of goes to the cloud on Zoom, and then I just send the link to you, and then you can download that and have that as well. Amber, there's a lot of developments happening in the background around the video calling element as well. I think that it's going to get more powerful. There'll be more features that will pop up around that as well. So certainly, I do think that at some point that will happen. Don't hold me to when will that be and so on, but a number of features you'll notice if you're new to Showbie, you'll kind of see that over time there are new features that pop up, and what you'll also kind of see that Showbie does respond well to feedback as well. I'm going to show you that as well from an educator perspective, because when lots of educators from different parts are requesting certain features, the team back there kind of really take note of that. And I'm going to show you where that is, and make sure your teachers are aware of that as well. So it doesn't mean one person in the school puts a request in, 50 of you can put a request in if that's something that's kind of, you know, popping up for people and so on. So that's kind of worthwhile doing. Okay, all right, Amber. Amber, are you using notifications like on your device, or are you using Activity Center in Showbie? That would be good to know from my perspective. Okay, then. Okay, all right. We'll cover some of that as well. But I think, yeah. Absolutely turn the emails off. That's good practice. Yeah. Okay, guys. Look, I'm going to be presenting off my iPad. So, but obviously you can use this on different browsers and so on as well. When I'm presenting, I won't be able to see the chat window as we're kind of speaking and talking and so on. So please be aware of that. And what we will do is I'll just make sure that I'll come back to this. There is a Q&A area as well, so absolutely feel free to put stuff in Q&A, and I'll be more than happy to kind of share that as well. Okay, Dan, I'll have a look at that as well. We'll see what went wrong for you there. Okay, so let's make a start. First and foremost, I need to do a little bit of introduction and kind of introduce myself. So if I just do screen and I do start broadcast, in a moment you should be able to see my iPad, or my screen rather. Okay. There we go. So you should be able to see my screen now. What I will kind of say is that if I want to kind of just go through a little bit of an introduction. So this is not going to be kind of a whole bunch of slides that I'm going to go through, so please don't be worried about that. Let me just do a quick kind of introduction, which is not going to take long at all. Oops. There we go. Okay, that's fine. Right. So here we are. Showbie is a tool that educators have been using for quite a while. It's been around since 2011, 2012, something like that. Showbie, and also in 2018, acquired Socrative, which is an assessment tool. We did a session not yesterday, the day before, on understanding Socrative. If you've not seen that, and you want to know about assessment, remote assessment, how does it integrate with Showbie, then that's definitely a worthwhile session coming to as well. My role at Showbie is as the Vice President of Learning. My background is as a high school teacher, and then a senior leader, and then for a short while also principal of a high school in the UK. Probably been around in those roles for about 21, 22 years. And then after that, I then went on to kind of do a lot of consultancy work with schools around the world that were looking at introducing technology for learning. Not necessarily Showbie, it was pretty much across the board, lots of strategic development, one-to-one programs, improving pedagogy, looking at efficiencies, cost savings, and all that kind of stuff as well. So those are conversations that if you're interested in, I can certainly have with you as well. I've gone on to then kind of open a preschool. So I'm also the chair of a trust board here in the UK. And we kind of work closely with the principal of the school and so on as well. And if any international people that are here from the UAE, I'm also a governor at a British school in Dubai as well. So lots of involvement in terms of knowing the things that need to happen, good practice and so on. I've taken on this role as Vice President of Learning. I don't get involved in sales. If you ask me the price of stuff, I won't know. But what I do know is where you can get value in terms of teaching and learning, where I can tell you is potential cost savings to be made. I can kind of support you with digital strategies and school improvement and that kind of stuff. So I'm very, very happy to kind of support anyone that wants that from that perspective. So let's just talk a little bit about workflow, because this is quite key. Yeah. The easiest thing to do, or it might not be so easy because there's a cost attached to it, but the easiest thing to do pragmatically is to give a device to students, yeah? And you can give computers out and laptops out and so on. However, one thing that's really important to understand is along with giving out a device, there should be a very clear workflow for students, teachers, and parents. And one of the things that Showbie does very, very well is it organizes workflows. So things that we're used to doing as teachers, how do we share new subject content and so on, that is done in Showbie. Where and how do you send assignments to students? All of that can be done in Showbie. It's not a replacement for Google G Suite and Google. It's not a replacement for Office 365. There are schools that only use Showbie, but predominantly cloud-based infrastructure is important, emails and all that kind of stuff, and where you store your files, and Showbie integrates with all of that as well. Where things become actually quite powerful is when students submit work, and when they submit the completed work, the feedback that the teachers can give and how they give feedback can be quite useful and quite powerful. And I think this is where Showbie can be quite transformative. So rather than just translating worksheets and sending them out and students annotate and send that back, there's a lot of other stuff that we could do that Showbie allows us to do in a quite a simple and easy way. So workflow is really quite key. What's also really important is it's great that teachers are giving high quality feedback, but feedback is only good if students respond to that feedback. A lot of work by Hattie and all that kind of stuff that we already know about. So we want to see student response. And if we can include a variety of ways in which students can respond to documents, to videos, to whatever resources, whatever assignments we set to students, then actually that's quite a powerful thing to be able to do. So workflow is really quite key. I kind of have an analogy of taps and plumbing. So taps are like your laptops, iPads, devices, very shiny, easy to turn on, and we expect water to come out. But the water is not going to come out if we don't have plumbing in place. Yeah, and plumbing is a bit more complicated. It's very bespoke. It's different from one school to another school and so on. And it's pretty much always hidden. We don't see it. But if the plumbing is not there, things are not going to work. And for me, the way you design learning, whatever learning principles that you use, which might be everything from visible learning, Rosenshine stuff, whatever you might be kind of looking at, the workflow that is embedded is actually quite key. And that really becomes the plumbing, the workflow that makes the taps work or makes the devices kind of work, and you see good things happening. So that's kind of quite important. Okay, so a couple of other things. My details are here. That's my email, right? So I'll take a screenshot, write it down somewhere. If at the end of this session you think, actually, I want a copy of that recording, then absolutely, I will just email me and I'll just send it over to you as well. Okay, so let's just get started and get an understanding of what Showbie is about. So Showbie can be used through a browser. I'm just going to do it through an iPad. There's a few extra features that you get when you're using Showbie on the iPad, purely because there's a guaranteed camera on the back that allows you to just kind of do a couple of extra things, which I'll share with you as we go along. So let me just fire up the app. So this is the Showbie app. I'm just going to open that up, and I'm actually just going to go right to the beginning. And what you'll see here is a bunch of names, which are actually schools from many, many different parts of the world. And typically speaking, this is the place where you would create your class. Yeah. Now, for this session, we're not doing hands-on. I'm not getting you to sign up as students and all of that, but I can do sessions bespoke for schools, or if you're in the UK and you're a trust and you're looking at that for that reason, or if you're international and you've got groups of schools and so on, we can definitely kind of put something in place for that. Just let me know through email. So one of the nice things about this is that it has a very simplistic kind of approach, and schools that use this kind of get to grips with it pretty quickly. So first thing I would do is I would need to create a class, and I just click on this wrench icon at the top, and I go to new class. And when I do that, I end up with this little kind of form thing that I've got to fill in. So I can give it the class a name, yeah, and it kind of keeps the classes in alphabetical order, right? If you're high school teachers, you might do it according to your class names and year groups and so on. If you're primary school teachers and you're seeing the same students pretty much every day, then you might do it according to subjects and so on. It's important to have a strategy around the way in which you're naming things. Yeah, we've all known situations whereby we don't name files, we don't name folders, and we're kind of looking for things, we know it's there, but we can't find it and so on. When you scale this up across a school, across a trust, then having some kind of nomenclature, some kind of naming system is important, and it becomes quite useful. So I'm just going to do something really simple. I'm just going to call this Abdul's class. I've done one before, but I'm just going to do this kind of really simply. I could just call it that. I can do, and just underneath it, there's this option for class code. Yeah. Now, one of the nice things about Showbie is that schools have been able to set up like classrooms and classes and add students on without the need of having complicated setups in the background, relying on technical people, hearing words like Active Directory and things like that. Like all of that is just not needed with this. So there's a degree of simplicity and reliability with this in terms of the way in which you set things up, right? So I've got class code. If I click on class code, I've then got a bunch of things here. I'll just explain this. If open is ticked at the moment, which means if you were students and I gave you this code, you would put it into your class, and then you would automatically join my class. And I've left it open. So usually what happens is if you've got a class of 30 students and you've just given the code out, then you leave it open and they will just all join automatically. You can then switch it to by approval, which then means that actually if they have the code, it will let them join, but they can't actually fully join your class until you manually approve and say, yes, I want this person to join. Or you could even go to closed, and then this means that even if they've got the code, they cannot join. Okay, and you can change that whenever you want. So that's something that's absolutely quite possible. If I hit the save button, I can switch on student-led portfolios. Portfolios is actually quite a nice tool. I'm going to make reference to that later on. And of course, there's parent access as well. Now, you don't have to decide on all of that at the beginning of the class, because you can switch everything on afterwards or switch it off. It's entirely up to you. And if I hit the save button, you'll see that this class has now been created, and it's our class, and it's here, and it's right at the top. Okay. Once we go into this class, what we've now got is this kind of blankish kind of page, right? And it's telling me with a yellow arrow to add an assignment, because we can have a class, but I won't be able to see the students in my class until I add an assignment. So if I go ahead and click on the wrench icon, I now get a whole bunch of other options. I can have folders. I'll show you examples of that in a minute. So I can organize my kind of assignments based on folders. So if you're a primary school teacher, you might have one on literacy, you might have one on numeracy, you might have one on science, and there are different assignments within there based on the topics that you're doing and so on. If you're a high school teacher, you might have your folders named according to topics. There are schools that sometimes name folders according to weeks, week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. It's entirely up to you. The one thing I will say is have a consistent approach. So it's easy for students to understand, it's easy for parents to understand, it's easy for new staff coming in to understand. And typically, I've kind of worked with schools to write that down, like actually have it on a presentation somewhere where people can kind of see it and know what it's about. Okay, if I just click on new assignment, so here I am, it's going to ask me for a name for our assignment. And if I was to call this learning with Showbie, there we are. And then I get a due date that I can put in for this particular assignment. Now, that's fine. The due date aspect is really, really nice. But what's also actually quite powerful is this student access element. So if I click on this lock icon here, that means this assignment will be locked. And that means that the students cannot access the resources. They can see that there's an assignment there, it's locked, but they will not be able to access any resources. That's brilliant for planning. You know, quite often teachers want to plan ahead, you know, put all my resources in there, plan my lessons for next week, the week after, but I don't want the students to access it at this moment. Well, it goes a step further in that you can also set a schedule by changing the dates and choosing calendars and times and all of that to kind of then have a view only setting. So it will automatically go from locked to view only when you've decided, okay? So that means that you can then employ, you know, kind of strategies like flip learning. Here's a video I've put on there, some tutorial videos, and they can access that and they can watch it, but actually they cannot submit anything, they cannot edit anything, and so on. So view only can actually be quite a useful thing when you make something viewable. And then you can take it, and then you can, as part of the timings plan or the schedule, you can then decide when it becomes editable and students can go in, submit, annotate, and do all the stuff that Showbie allows you to do. So you can create a whole schedule of things here that you can then share with students. So that's quite useful, and you would just save that, and then that assignment is there. Now, obviously, I haven't got anybody to sign in today, but if I did, I would be giving you this code here, and you would be joining my class. The moment you put it in, you would pop up here, and that's that done. Let me just pull up a class that I did do some stuff with, and I want to show you a few different things here. So if I just go to this class here, this is again a school in Pakistan, in Karachi, and British school, and I did some training and onboarding for their teachers there. So when you see the names, they're not students, they are adults, and they were teachers. Okay, so if you look, I was here, I was kind of showing how you can add folders, and you can see that you can add as many folders as you want, add the different colors, give them names, and so on. Again, better to have a consistent strategy. And some examples that I've seen where the color of the folder matches the actual exercise color of the exercise books that the students have for that particular subject. Okay, and the name is of the folder is the topic that they might be doing. Okay, and that or that particular unit of study and so on. So you can actually structure it in that way as well. So that's definitely something to think about. There's no right or wrong way of doing it. I think it's worthwhile. You know, at least middle leaders, heads of departments, or actually digital leaders sitting down and having a discussion over this and coming up with a unified plan that's then shared with everyone. Otherwise, one of the difficulties of having something so simple is that it can get messy very quickly because everybody's got a different idea on, you know, what they're presenting, what they're going to call it, and so on. And you might just have 10 folders called science and nobody really knows what they mean, and so on. So having some structure to this adds significant value and can actually save a lot of confusion as well. So these are some folders that are here that you can put assignments within as well. You can also have assignments outside the folders. So here, for example, Showbie Basics, if I keep my finger pressed on there, or if I was using a browser, you get I can right click or use the 3 dots that appear on the side, and I can move this as well. So you know, these might be some that I've archived and we've completed them and I've put them in the folders. And these are ones that are active with the class and I want them to do at the moment. And once they've done, I can do the move it and put it wherever I want to. So that means I don't end up with like 150 assignments that are here and I'm scrolling through trying to find out which one's which and where and so on. So there is some organizational stuff that you can just do as you kind of go along. Let's go into one of these assignments and let's have a look at the kinds of things that we could do here. So with this, it's pretty simple. With any assignment, you have a space called shared items at the top. That's with every assignment. And then as a teacher, I could have names. As a teacher, I can see all the students in the class. I've just enabled. I've joined this session on another computer, so I can actually see the chat now. So I'll try and answer things as I go along. Avril, just keep your fingers crossed. That's all I'm going to say at the moment for this about folders in folders. Trust me, I've heard that, and that feedback has definitely got to the top. So just watch this space from that one, yeah? Okay, so here we are. If I just kind of, shared items is basically the place where you are sharing your resources and where you might be asking students to do things and so on, yeah? What activities you're setting them. Shared items is wherever you put in shared items, everybody can see. Okay. In this scenario, you're seeing the teacher view. I can see all the students. Students cannot see each other. So, for example, Dominic cannot see Gulam. Okay, but I get to see everybody. Okay. Now, what's interesting is this here. I mean, I've just kind of been throwing a bunch of things up on here and testing a few things out and so on. One thing I will say is that if I write a comment, so if let's just click on Dominic here, and if now this is all Dominic stuff, so you can see the last thing that he's got here. Yesterday, I uploaded a C- or a grade C here for him. That was through our understanding Socrative stuff that we were doing. But actually, if I go to shared items now, and if I type in welcome to this class is not active, by the way, now, so it's not like they're going to get notifications and see this. It was just training at the time. And if I just hit the post button, then hey, that's been posted. And now watch what happens if I go to Dominic. The last thing that he's got here, welcome to the class. And Maham and any student that I click on, they've all received that. Now, you can use a function here to kind of differentiate. So right at the top, you might have noticed this, but there's something called everyone. It's because everyone is selected at the moment. If I click on this, I can now select none and select just a few students that I want to upload a document to, give some feedback to, and so on. And if I hit save, then actually now whatever I do here is only going to go to these students, yeah? And I'm just gonna try and show off in a minute now. Get my iPad, put it down, hide the keyboard, using my pencil if you're using this. And I can, in the write a comment thing, I can scribble and just do something like that, pretty easy. And it'll just turn it straight into text and put it there, pretty easy to do. And if I hit post, that's only gone to those students that I selected and nobody else. And literally a couple of clicks, select all, save, and I'm back again here with everyone. So brilliant for just quick feedback to a group of students, or just selected students, you want to kind of give them a different kind of activity and so on. You can do that very, very easily. Okay, so let's see what else we can do here. If I just bring your attention to the plus icon here. In fact, okay, let's just go to the plus icon here. What you'll notice here is that there's a whole list of different tools in Showbie, and these are actually quite powerful tools. I could probably spend a lot of time going through all of them in some detail, and I will do. I do want to kind of cover some ground here, right? However, before I go in and start looking at these tools, because I think this is where this is where transformation happens. If you've got a solid digital kind of strategy, then the way your policies are in terms of assessment, in terms of feedback, they can be significantly different. And that's some of the work I've done with schools that are using Showbie, where they've actually now decided to go whole hog and, you know, digitize verbal feedback is something that's going to happen across the school. And, you know, they've rewritten their policies around that and so on. So it's worthwhile trying. It's worthwhile, you know, doing a little bit of an impact study and just measuring some data from students and teachers and so on, and then being able to make an informed decision around that. However, a couple of other things. For those of you that are very new to Showbie, if any of these students on the left-hand side, you can see the list of names, if they submitted, if they were actually here on the other side and submitted something to me, I'm going to cheat by just taking a screenshot. And what would happen is, so if Dominic sent me something, what you would see happening is a little blue line popping up like this, right? And then if Jennifer sent me something, that would pop up and so on. And I'd be able to kind of see who's sending something back. So you can use this as a synchronous tool whilst lessons are going on, where the teacher is present and I can see, oh, Dominica sent me something, Jennifer sent me something, and I haven't seen it. The moment I tap on Dominic and I've addressed that and I've seen what he sent me, that blue line will then disappear. If he then sends something else again, another blue line would pop up to tell me that there's something new. So this is actually quite useful from a synchronous perspective. And there's a lot of schools, certainly during lockdown in the UK at the moment as well. So teachers are at home. When it's their lesson, they're actually on Showbie and they are interacting with students. It doesn't always have to be live. It doesn't always have to be video and so on. So there's a balance that can be had around this as well. You might ask the question, what happens if there's another class and a student has sent something somewhere else? There's this bell icon at the top right here. If I just click on that, you do get this thing called the Activity Center, where you can see, you know, where other people have submitted stuff. And, you know, I can just tap on that. So I could just tap on here and see what Mrs. Costry has kind of posted, and it will just open that section up and take me right there directly. So this is Activity Center. You can customize it by clicking on these three icons here, and you can say, I don't want to have death by notifications, so only show me the unread ones, or only show me for this particular assignment, or only show me for this group or this class, right? It might be that you only want to see a specific student and rather than everyone else and so on. So this was a fairly new update, and I expect to see probably other updates that will come around this as well. But that's just to let you know that there is a notification element here, and in terms of an activity center, that does tell you what's going on elsewhere in Showbie as well. Okay, so that's a little bit about kind of synchronous stuff and things being sent to me and me sending things back and so on. Let's just kind of go into one other thing here. You're probably aware of this, but just in case you're not, in shared items, you can, if I just bring your attention to the far right here, you can reorganize things, yeah? You can reorganize things. So say, for example, you had a video and you wanted some instructions to go as a separate thing here, then you can kind of have the instructions and then the video and all that kind of stuff, and you can reorganize things only in shared items, yeah? So that's something that you should be aware of. Okay, let's just have a look at some of the tools here. So first and foremost, if I just give you a quick view, new document is something that's fairly new, but really it's just a blank document kind of thing. If I tap on it, it allows me to just actually name a document. So I might just say something like, no, actually, let me just say kind of, I don't know, let's just do a drawing cube or something like this. I can choose landscape or portrait. I can choose like dots. I can choose lined paper, isometric paper, musics, sheets, paper, whatever you want to call it. I can add multiple pages. I can have graph paper. There's a bunch of options here. And if I do create, that document as a blank document has now gone to everybody in the class because it's in shared items. And the file name is there as well. If I tap on it, it opens up like this. Okay, and then I've got the opportunity to annotate on top of this. I'm going to come on to annotations and tools later on, so just bear with me, because this is a powerful space where you can do a variety of different things, and I want to kind of just explain what these things are. But this is just a document. Obviously, I just chose a grid thing, and if I hit the done button, I'm kind of back out and I'm here again. Okay, if I just tap on the plus icon again, this is where camera, scan document, photo library are the three things that you get on the iPad version, right? On a browser or on a laptop, it's not a deal breaker because you can take photos with a mobile phone or a device and upload it to your computer and then upload it. On a laptop type device, you'll see My Computer. Okay, and then you can navigate your way to where you want. However, for the purposes of this session, and I'm really conscious of time, scan document is something I want to bring to your attention. I've done an impact study with 2 schools, one a very large one, and one primary school, year 6, and 2 teachers, 2 form entry, and they started to use the scan document feature as their kind of standard approach. So it wasn't about becoming paperless and no printing, but actually they wanted to stop all the kind of crazy kind of printing that happens in schools, as we well know. So if I just show you this feature, it's different from taking a photo. Yeah, the scan document thing, I'm going to see how well this works. If I just do scan document, and if I just highlight this, I'll do my daughter's English book, which I've kind of stolen, right? But it's just taken a picture that I actually didn't press any buttons because it's looking for an outline. And when it sees the outline, this little blue square comes up and it takes an image of that, right? So I'm still not pressed anything. Let me see if it'll just, there is a button here that I can press. Oh, it's done it by itself anyway. Right at the bottom right hand corner, it says save. If I tap on save, it does something actually quite nice. Yeah, it gives you this option. Do I want to things as individual items? If I say individual items, it'll pop up one above the other, but I'm not going to choose individual items. I'm going to do add as document. So this option here, if I just tap on add as document, what this does is it's taken those images, glued it together, turned it into a PDF, and uploaded it into shared items and so on. And nobody knows, and really nobody needs to care about that. But that's actually what it's done. And the 3 dots in the top right hand corner, in case you don't know about that, I always have large preview switched on myself. If I make it small, it kind of looks like this. If I switch that on, I have that. And then I can even swipe in between just to get a bit of a preview. And if I now tap on this, I end up back in this annotated kind of mode, which I think is actually, this is where kind of feedback and impact on feedback and things like that can become quite powerful. If you're using a laptop and it's a mouse or a trackpad, then this bit might be a bit difficult because it's not made for that. But if you're using an iPad and you're using stylus, pencils, that kind of stuff, if I just bring your attention to the top, you see the pen icon that's just lit in blue. I tapped it once, it's highlighted in blue. Now I can scribe and draw. If I tap it again, I get a bunch of different colors and thicknesses and all that kind of stuff. And if you're a blue pen, green pen, purple pen school, then you can implement that kind of stuff as well. But I think we can do a lot better than that. So if I was to highlight stuff, I can actually now just highlight stuff, ask questions, do the stuff that I would do. Now, for me, what's really important is The reason why I'm showing you this, because I could have uploaded a Word document and shown you the annotation feature here. I think there's a place where analog and digital can meet, especially in countries where final exams are pen to paper. It's really important that children write and they know and they kind of are able to write and not get fatigued, and we can write to a certain kind of depth and so on. And sometimes I think that when schools move to a digital platform or kind of do, you know, one-to-one programs and stuff like that, they can come under fire to say, well, actually they're not going to be writing as much now and so on. Actually, I would argue that potentially you could be writing a lot more, because the speed at which we can give feedback now can be significantly faster, and you could actually ask students to do more tasks and so on as well. However, what I wanted to show is where the analog world can actually meet the digital world. And from this point onwards, teachers can reduce workload. They can actually, they don't need to actually take all the books home, open the pages, and, you know, do the marking and all that kind of stuff, and write copious kind of comments and so on. This is actually quite an easier way of interacting with students. There's a highlighter option as well, which is the highlighter pen that I've just highlighted there. There's obviously the eraser, which we would expect to have as well. We can kind of do all these kinds of things. But the next two tools are really quite important. So this one that's just highlighted now, there's a speech bubble with text. This is actually quite useful. And again, from a laptop perspective, this can be quite useful as well. So a keyboard can come up and I can actually type on here and give feedback. And, you know, I can begin to kind of do this, and this works well within on a laptop or on a tablet type device anyway. Yeah. However, again, in this scenario, you can scribble on here as well. So not the best feedback, but you get the idea. You know, I can kind of do that, and if I hit the save button, that comment is now saved. Now, you do get this text box obscuring the text, the handwritten stuff that's behind it. If I just tap on the C, I can kind of move that about, and I can overlay this wherever I want to. Students can't move that. Once I've set that there, students can't delete it or move it anywhere else. Now, obviously, I've just done this on a handwritten document. You could actually do this over an image. You could do it over a bunch of different kind of documents. And I think what's nice as well is whether you're using, office tools, whether it's PowerPoint, Excel, Word, you can upload that. You can do all of that on here. Whether you're using Pages, Keynote numbers, you can upload that, and you can do that here. Even Google Docs, like you could either attach a link to a Google Doc, and then you can screenshot it, put it up, and then give feedback on that as well. Where the next item here, this button there, is actually audio. So this is where I think Showbie kind of comes into its own, because now if I just tap on the number 3 on the right hand side of the page, I'll get this option happening, and I now get a voice note. So this is where I think things can be quite transformative. If I hit the record button, hey, this is really good, but there's some spelling, punctuation, and grammar errors. Please can you highlight them in green and correct them? Hit the save button. That voice note is saved. And if I keep my finger pressed on here and do rename, I can kind of rename this, and I might just call it feedback. I know of a school that in its policy, they've actually been able they're actually using emojis. So red heart means that, yeah, it's good, but there's some improvements that you need to do. And then footprints might mean there's next steps here as well, and so on. And what they're doing with this is that the policy works all the way from young children, all the way and all through school, all the way up to, students that are even doing A-levels. Yeah. So the policy and the tools kind of carry through, and it becomes a language that everybody in the organization understands. So voice notes, I think, are quite powerful. 7 seconds, 6 seconds of verbal feedback, is probably about half a page of writing, and so that can save a significant amount of time. What's also powerful is the students can respond that back as well. If you want to delete it, you can right click and then hit the delete button. So you should be able to kind of do that. and then just kind of, and it should give you the option to delete it. Okay, so voice notes, dead simple, dead easy, actually can be part of a policy if you kind of want to go down that route. Okay, a couple of other things I do want to show you. If I just bring your attention to the top left here, this, if I just click on that, this is a really nice feature. It's quick marking. Might not be able to show you because they're not interacting with me at the moment, but I'm just clicking on Alia here, and this document that you see in the background now is document for Alia, and then anything else that she's submitted, I can actually see any assessments that she's done. I can see all of them here, and I can bring them up directly here on my screen. Okay, and I can mark and annotate this and give feedback and all that kind of stuff. If I click on the next arrow, it'll bring up the next student, and again, any submissions that they've made, I can see here. If I click on the next student, the same thing can happen here as well. So I don't need to go back into Showbie and kind of click on the next student and so on. I could do this quite rapidly. And where you have multiple pages, it will take you through page 1 for everyone first, then it'll take you through page 2 for everyone. So it kind of goes the longitudinal kind of marking feedback way, so you can kind of see how well people have done on that one thing. Now, if you translate this to exam questions, if you translate this to kind of, preparing students for the final exams and so on, this is hugely powerful. You can also have this gradebook feature here as well. So, here you can give grades or marks or even emojis, red, green, amber, in terms of how well you've done and so on. It's entirely up to you whether you're using letters or whether you're using, you can, once you've given a grade, I'm going to come on to Gradebook and stuff in a moment, but just remember that you can do that. Next to it, there's this star button, right? This star button is actually the portfolio button. So say, for example, this was an assessed piece of work, or let's just say this is something that, it's part of coursework, or it's something that I kind of want to keep together, or a final piece that the student's done. The moment you click on that star button, this piece of work will now automatically get added into the student's portfolio. So when the students log in, they have their portfolio, and literally you can go in and you can see that piece of work there. So that's Dominic. If I was to just kind of go back all the way to the beginning, so I'm out of this class right at the top. At the bottom, you'll notice it says students. And if I click on this, this gives me the access to all students in all classes. And if I just type in Dominic, there's Dominic. And if I go here in Dominic's kind of file folder, you'll now see that there's a portfolio thing. And when he goes in there, anything that's been starred from any of Dominic's classes, you'll be able to kind of see that as kind of his portfolio. So that's something to be wary about as well. You can use it for a variety of different things. Some schools use it to kind of see their best pieces of work and for students to kind of showcase that. Other schools use it for assessed pieces of work for students to have that. Other schools might use it for coursework and so on as well. So you've got a bunch of things here that you can kind of include from that perspective. Okay, let's just go back into our class. Okay, let's have a look here. Just going back in to our class and into shared items. I'm really conscious of time now. Okay, and actually I wasn't this one. I'm just gonna go back to the one where we were looking at, which is Karachi. Here we are. Okay, well, actually wasn't that. It was Karachi Secondary. There we are. A couple of other things that you should know about. If I just go back into our assignments, Showbie now has this package called Class Kit that includes Showbie, Socrative, Explain Everything. There's Hologo. There's a whole bunch of tools that are kind of part of that. And as part of that as well is this video chat feature. If I just click on a student, if I just click on Dominic, what you'll notice on the top right-hand side is this video chat feature pops up, right? Now, this video chat facility is available in 3 places. Okay, one is if I click on a student and actually the student needs support, I can just click on video chat. No need to send links and passcodes and all of that. I can't obviously activate this. It's going to conflict with Showbie, with the Zoom call. But if I start chat, it would allow the student to join. If I just go back one step, there's an area in Showbie in every assignment or every class called class discussions. If we go there, this is the place where students can interact with one another. Whatever anybody puts here, the rest of the class can see. As a teacher, you can be the moderator, and you can delete things and you can pin posts like this. Students can upload a whole bunch of whatever resources they want. So they can import a file from Google or OneDrive or whatever it is, whatever other tools that you might be using. They can scan documents, take videos and so on as well. We'll come on to record screen in a moment. But here, this is where you can students can have discussions and so on. At the top right-hand side, this is the second place where you do have video chat. And if you were to click on that, it would start a video chat with your class. The kinds of things that you see on Zoom and Teams and so on, you can have up to 50 people joining on here. However, you can also, but you'll only have 12 people like visible on screen. Yeah? As a teacher, you can only see 12 on screen. Okay, you won't be able to see all 30 or all 50 on the screen at the same time. So that's just something to be aware of in terms of limitations. But of course, all your students can see you, and you can speak and they can talk and you can mute and so on. On a laptop, you can share your screen. On the iPad, okay, you can't share your screen. Okay, so just be aware of that. On the browser, on a laptop, you can. On the iPad, at the moment, you can't share your screen. So that's something to be aware of as well. A number of schools are doing things like this as well. So they might have video chat on, and you can have multiple apps opened up in this way, or two Showbie apps. And here you might be doing your assignment and work and submitting things and so on. Whereas here you might have had the video chat thing enabled. So you've kind of got two windows opened up and you're working side by side from that perspective as well. So you can have a live lesson, the teacher's talking about stuff and the students are submitting things and so on. So that's kind of a worthwhile looking at and knowing about. Again, I can see there's a lot of questions coming up and I will do my best to kind of go through all of these as well. A couple of other things on here. If I just come out of here and let me just show you a quick example. This is a school in Glasgow that I was kind of showing to their kind of senior leadership team. The possibilities with when you're explaining new concepts and ideas, the idea of modeling tutorials and all that kind of stuff is actually quite powerful. And there's a lot of thinking and thought that goes into taking complicated processes, breaking them into smaller chunks, and then being able to share that in a way that allows students to access it later on and listen to the teacher explanation and so on. Now, as part of that kind of pedagogical approach, if I tap on the plus icon, there's an option here to record screen. What this does is that it allows, and by the way, that's on iPad only at the moment. So just bear with us if you're not using iPads, but you kind of get the idea in terms of where the team's going and where the thinking is for Showbie. And hopefully, we kind of see this happening across other platforms as well. But, some things are easier to do than others. But the concept and the idea is there in terms of the way in which you can record screen. It's different from recording the iPad screens, and iPads have things built in, and you can on laptops have things like loom.com that kind of record your screens and so on. The one thing that the screen record feature does here is that when you record the screen, so I'm just, it switches your front-facing camera on, so you can, the students, when you're doing the recording, it has that little video of you sometimes see on YouTube channels and stuff where the person speaking, their face is visible, you can see their expressions and so on. And actually Showbie has that built in. So this is something that I did for a school elsewhere. I was just showing it, and there's me. Top left, you can make it full screen like this. I don't think you can hear me speaking on the video, on the screen recording. You can make it slightly larger as well. And you can also do things like turn the camera around so it's facing the other, you using the back camera to kind of maybe point at something, show something, and speak about it. You can also kind of move that to different corners. And probably the most powerful part is I just tapped on a blank document, and now I can write, speak, explain stuff. This could have been a PowerPoint, it could have been a keynote slide, it could have been a Word document, it could have been a photo or an image, and I'm just speaking over it, and I'm explaining things and annotating over it. And then the whole thing gets turned into a video. It doesn't just upload the video, it does give you the option to kind of trim, and it does give you the option to kind of say, do you want a high quality one, a medium quality one, or a low quality one? And that's something to think about, because if you're in an area that's kind of highly deprived and you don't have students that might not have connectivity at home, or they're just using a 3G connection on their phone and so on, then actually you can send a lower quality one. And in many cases, like if you're just drawing something or doing an example, it might not make that much of a difference. In fact, the quality is actually pretty good as well. So that's record screen, and I think that's worthwhile knowing about as well. If I keep my finger pressed on this, it does allow me to share this as well. So I can export this video, put it somewhere else, and share it as a tutorial thing elsewhere as well. So that's something to kind of know about and think about as well. Okay, we're coming up to 17:25. I'm gonna just make reference to this, but I'm not gonna go through it. If I just go to shared items, let's cancel this, shared items, and if I just click on the plus icon, this option here where it says quiz, this is where the integration to Socrative happens. Now, I kind of cover this integration in understanding Socrative, otherwise we won't have time to go through the Showbie stuff here, but it does integrate here, and there's a bunch of obvious benefits in that you don't need to invite students to rooms. You can launch the quiz, the students can answer it right here. You're going to get real-time feedback. You get reporting documents that you could reports on how the distribution of correct, incorrect answers, individual reports for each student. These kinds of things are all automatically generated, and obviously Socrative has the ability for you to create quizzes and assessment as well. It kind of really works with the idea of retrieval practice through different kind of sessions of learning and kind of pulling back information from students and so on in a quite an easy way. So that's definitely something that's worthwhile looking at as well. Okay. So one last thing I do want to mention before I try and cover things on questions is groups. Yeah, if we look at groups is a place where you can kind of share and make teams of people that have discussions together. You can have just teachers. You can have your whole staff and make it announcements only, so nobody can post anything and it's just the head teacher giving verbal updates or text updates or whatever you want. We also have Showbie also has a program called Showbie Certified Educators, and as you can see, we've created groups here. If you don't know about Showbie Certified Educators, then certainly Google it. And if I just go here, it's actually 4 modules, and those 4 modules are communication, engagement, assessment, and efficiencies. There's a ton of video tutorials on there. There's some research stuff, based stuff as well to look at. It's not meant to be like, how well you know how to use Showbie. It's kind of more about how well you know it in terms of using it for teaching and learning, and maybe kind of discovering some new things on there that you might not already know about. It's totally free. You can sign up for this or get your teachers to sign up for it. And I think there's quizzes that happen. If you get past a certain pass rate, then hey, you become a Showbie certified educator. And there's a whole bunch of people, certainly in the UK, that are here that you can connect with, school leaders and people that you can connect with. And then that then goes into Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia. It's a global kind of setup, and I think it's worthwhile looking at as well. Okay, let me now kind of go to these questions, because we might not have. And by the way, guys, if you do need to kind of leave because we're going to go over time or whatever, then absolutely feel free to do so. I'm just putting my email there. So if you want a recording of this, I can kind of send that to you. So let's just kind of have a look through this. Can you flick through pages and see the children like on Zoom, or do they only show if they talk? You can't flip through them in order to see the students. That you can kind of end them and then they rejoin. It's just a tap that they do and then they appear on the main screen. It's a bit finicky, but it's manageable in terms of the way in which some schools are kind of doing this. It could be better. And I think there's feedback around that has kind of gone on. By the way, feedback, bottom right-hand side on Showbie, there is this question mark. If you tap on it, it says request a feature. Definitely use that. Make sure your teachers know about it. It's not just something you kind of upload and it gets ignored. This actually has a whole process and a system and a workflow for the engineers at Showbie that kind of take this up, and the feedback that I give them from conversations like this as well. So definitely use that as well. You can't do breakout room, Anders, for Showbie at the moment. You could kind of do breakout rooms by using the groups function and just creating groups and then adding the students that you want in there, and then that's a breakout room. So that's possible, kind of. That's something that you could do, and then call the groups different rooms. That's definitely doable. Okay, when children finish a quiz and it has been marked automatically, is there any way that you can go back? They can go back and edit the ones they got wrong without having to do the whole quiz again. Yes, it's a Socrative question. You can, but you need to have, you need to launch, you have to launch the open-ended quiz rather than doing the kind of the formative one. So if I was to go to Socrative and if I log in, teacher login, if I just show you where this is, and if I just launch a quiz, let me just pick anyone, click next. This one, open navigation, that's the one that you put on. They can go back and they can edit any question until you, and put in correct answers until you hit the end button. If some children finish the work, but some don't, is there any way you can archive the work for some students, but keep it visible for others? You can't lock it for one student and then keep it going for others. You could lock the whole assignment, but then in groups, invite specific students to submit things to you that way, yeah, and then you would have that. I know what you mean, but you can't actually lock individual students and allow other students to kind of continue submitting things, yeah. The locking part works for the whole class, but you could lock the whole assignment and then get the other students to continue in a group that you create, and then they send that to you there. Some people do the work on the sheet I upload, but others seem to repost the sheet. How does that work? Okay, I think you mean like do the work on the sheet and upload, but others seem to repost the sheet. I'm assuming you mean like kind of scanning document. Apologies if I'm not understood the question there very clearly, but there's a number of ways in which teachers might use that workflow. Here's a worksheet, fill it in, pen to paper, scan it, take a photo, upload it, and then it's uploaded with their amendments on. Or you might just upload a PDF document and get them to annotate, and then you know, that's something then that is given as feedback to students, right? So if I've not got that correct, just drop me an email and I'll kind of you know, try and elaborate on that a little bit more. Okay, let's just have a look at the next one. On the shared items, where you can share posts with different children or on all children, can you set up groups to share with high attaining or low attaining rather than having to click the same children each time? The best way to do, you can't group them in the class at the moment. If you wanted to really do that and kind of have a separate workflow, I would say that you either create a different class and add those students in there. And that would be almost a separate assignment. Or another way of doing it is create a new assignment, so all your students are in there, but that assignment might be called higher something or other, or whatever you might want to call it. And in that one, you only, in the shared items, you only enable those students and nobody else. So it's a separate assignment, but actually it's differentiated, and you've only enabled those students and nobody else, and you don't enable the others as well. And then that runs as a separate kind of stream or assignment alongside the other one. But you can't do it within that class, although that would be a good feature. So definitely, I'll feed that back, and I think you should as well. Okay. Can the students use the scan document? Yes, they can. Does the video chat save and upload as a video, or does it disappear after? No, video chat just kind of disappears afterwards. You can't save the video chat. You might be able to use a screen recording tool like Loom and stuff like that. Those kinds of things quite often do recording. So you might be able to use free tools like that that will allow you to capture that. But this doesn't automatically capture it and share it. It's just kind of there. If you want to really kind of capture your explanation on something, then one of our partner tools, Explain Everything, that's definitely worthwhile looking at, because on that you can annotate, it records, you can broadcast it so students can kind of have a look at it, and then you could even and the fact that it records everything whilst you're broadcasting, you can even get students to annotate in live real time. And be able to scribble on things and add to things as well. And the whole thing is captured, and you can then upload that into Showbie, and then students have that as a video tutorial or some terms of reference to be able to look at that. Caroline, do we need to upgrade to get the video option? So this the answer to that is yes, probably. I think if you haven't got it, then you probably do. What I would say to you is look at the kind of, ask them about school kit, whoever the salespeople that you're speaking to, and ask them about school kit, and just consider the whole thing. But yeah, there is a hybrid option. I think it should be hybrid, and you get the video included in that. So that might be something that you might want to look at. Is a video option available for private subscribers? What do you mean by private subscribers? It's available. If you've got a free plan, then no, it's not there. If you've got a hybrid plan, then do you mean like if you're an individual? Good question. Whether you get it as an individual, I'll tell you. I'll be able to tell you right now with that. So if you're not a school and you're not doing it as a whole school thing, as an individual teacher. So let me have a look at this. I don't think it's there for individuals, right? I think it's there as part of a whole school setup in terms of Showbie hybrid. Okay, so I don't think that's the case in terms of for individual students getting Showbie. I'm pretty sure that is the case. Okay, right. Let me just have a look. Oh, hang on. So it should be getting so busy that it cannot load new documents to build new assignments. No, Diane, you haven't. I don't know why that is. Normally, if there are issues that it's like it cannot load new documents or there's something like that, I do kind of get to see that happening, and there are internal messages that come out to say, hey, we're having a problem with X, Y, and Z. That should not be the case, yeah? Certainly not today. So I'm not so sure why that was the case, although I will try and find out. And just drop me an email, please, because I'd like to know why that that you experienced that? Is it a one-off? Is it something that's happening more regularly, and so on? There are times when, so if it happened to others, was that others in your school, or was it, because I know there was a day, I think it might have been yesterday, I can't remember, all the days are turning into one day, but there was recently an outage where things weren't being uploaded and things were really slow and so on, but that shouldn't have happened today. So I've definitely not seen anything like that. Okay, so it might be an idea for you if you could just drop me an email, because I'd just like to explore that a little bit more, why that is the case and so on. So I'm sorry about that was the case. But normally when something like that happens, we get like 100 schools or 100 teachers kind of saying, hey, this isn't working and so on. And it's from everywhere. So it might be something like an update. It might be something local. I don't know, but I'm happy to explore that with you. So just drop me an email and remind me of this conversation, and we can pick that up. Okay, guys, I will stop there. This absolutely get in touch with me in terms of, wanting a recording of this. It does take some time to process and kind of share to cloud and all that kind of stuff, but I'll definitely respond back and share this with you. So I hope that was useful. You probably get a questionnaire thing. If there's feedback, please definitely give us loads of feedback on how to make this better, more useful for educators. And if there's anything else that we can do to support as well, then absolutely reach out, and we would be very, very happy to do that. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining, guys. Hope you're all safe, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you.